how do you put the penis in? It depends on which hole you want to put it in. If you want to put it in the vagina, you should know where your vaginal opening is and make sure that the penis is hard. First, it's erect because it's easier to put in if it's erect. If it's not, then voila, it will just go park like that. I'm Rika Cruz, a licensed psychologist, a sex educator, and a sex and relationships therapist. For years, I've listened to women talk about their self-doubt, apprehensions, and insecurities in sex. And what I tell them is this: you're okay, you're normal, and your story is my story. I want us women to enjoy sex, to see sex as something good, and to own our womanhood in and out of the bedroom. Kaya dito sa Conservative Ako, kahit hindi naman kami conservative, we'll talk about everything you've always wanted to know about sex and female pleasure to help each other embrace and unleash our inner sexy goddesses. In the last episode of Conservative Ako, we talked about women's experiences with first-time sex. Does it have to hurt all the time? And how do you know if you're ready for it anyway? This time around, we'll talk about tips to make it pleasurable. I'm joined by my friends Athena, Tanya, and Lee.
Rika, I think we can't have a conversation about first-time sex without talking about risks. So what could possibly happen when you have sex for the first time, and how do you protect yourself against these things?
Number one, you get pregnant. There are people who get pregnant from first-time sex. Number two, your risk of getting sexually transmitted infections. The Philippines has the highest rate of HIV in Asia Pacific. Also, they say that majority of the first-time sex of the Filipino youth, it's largely unprotected. So talagang sobrang laki ng risks ng STIs going around. And that includes HIV. Meron ngang recent news, diba? Girls as young as 11 get sexually transmitted infections. That's so sad. Psychologically, because we put so much value on the first time or quote-unquote virginity, though the goal is really to step away from that, a lot of women feel guilty after having sex for the first time. They feel guilty, they regret it, especially when they're really not ready. Kaya importante yung pinag-usapan natin on how to be emotionally ready and know that, yes, this is it. This is my first time.
Question, bakit magigilty?
Kasi meron tayong discourse, di ba, na kailangan you have to wait until marriage. That's the only time you should have sexual intercourse or sexual activity with someone. And kapag you've had your first time sex outside of marriage, merong bumabagabag sa utak mo ganun. Like a big cloud na, oh no, I'm a sinner. It's common. And that's where the guilt comes from.
Going back din dun sa unprotected sex, would wearing a condom be enough to prevent
yourself? All sexual activity with a partner is risky. But using a condom makes that risk lower to 1% to 3%. As opposed to 100% na pwede kang magkasakit. So yes, it is advisable to use a condom the first time you have sex. So you will also be conditioned to use a condom every time you have sex and pre-protect yourself.
How do you put on a condom?
How do you put on a condom? Okay, Tanya.
You open the packet at the side to make sure it doesn't rip the condom. And then you take it out by holding the tip. And then there's a ring at the bottom of the condom. You always hold the tip even when you're sliding the condom down. And then you make sure there's space talaga above the head of the penis.
Why do you hold the tip? So you will have that space above the penis where the ejaculate will go to. A common mistake of people using condoms is when they roll the condom down, it's upside down. So you have to make sure that it's not. And when the guy ejaculates, you hold the tip and make sure that nothing spills out. You tie it and then you throw it properly.
Ano hold the tip? Sorry, confused, girl.
Okay. Here, I have a condom here. Now, I have 3 fingers here. It looks like an erect penis. You hold the tip, so there's air inside. You roll it down, to the base, and then that's it. And then when you're gonna take it off, the penis is flaccid. It points down. You roll it down here, and then you make sure that nothing spills, and then you tie it. Do you want to tie it? Have you ever touched a condom? Have you
Yeah,
ever
I have. Just haven't tried tying it yet. Paano nga ba?
Go, tie it. Like a knot, yeah. Congratulations! That's your first time.
This is why I don't tie balloons. Tara.
But yeah, that's practice.
So if I'm going to have sex for the first time, how do you put the penis in? How would people know na, okay, this is the vagina. It's the right hole.
Okay, when we talked about masturbation or masturbation episode, I asked people to look at themselves in the mirror to know which holes. How do you put the penis in? It depends on which hole you want to put it in. If you want to put it in the vagina, you should know where your vaginal opening is and make sure that the penis is hard. First, it's erect because it's easier to put in if it's erect. If it's not, then wala, it will just go prank like that. Same thing with the anus, diba? It's easier if the penis is erect before you put it in. Before you put it in, you also should have your condom, and I would suggest that you use a lot of lubricant and make sure that you are aroused too. Usually kasi during the first time, like what happened to Tanya, kinabahan na siya kasi may kumatok eh. So nawala na yung arousal niya. That contributed to it being painful. So it's better if during the first time, you have your ambiance. You know that you're sexy and you're ready for it, so you can spread your legs and fly like that. Tanya, why are you whispering to me about condoms and lubes? Do you have any tips on lubes?
You have to make sure that the lube you use is water-based when you're using a condom, because otherwise it can weaken the condom.
Weaken the condom, yes.
Yeah, because some people use coconut oil or like other oils they find around the house. You shouldn't put that in your vagina. And you can ask Ren in the pharmacy like, oh, what's your water-based lubricant?
Lube is very important. That's what a lot of women do not know. Kasi feeling nila, okay na yung natural lubrication. Yes, when we're aroused, we tend to have a lot of lubrication. Pero, kapag, kunyari, like what happened to Tanya, natakot na siya, it will dry up eh. Mas mabilis din siyang mag-dry up kapag hindi natin na-sustain yung arousal. So, lube will help us sustain that kind of feeling. So, it won't be painful. Because the moment you feel pain, mawawala na rin yung arousal mo. So, you have to help yourself. And lube is very helpful.
Are there any positions or techniques that would make it easier pero pleasurable pa rin at the same time?
Mm-hmm. Like what Tanya said a while ago, diba? The man on top, the missionary position was difficult for her kasi it was painful. So they decided to switch it and she went on top para she was also the one in control. So kapag ganun, mas madali yun for you as a woman kasi alam mo kung gaano kalalim mo gusto, gaano kabilis mo gusto, gaano kabagal mo gusto, especially when you're guiding it for the first time into that hole, whichever hole it is.
For me, I just knew that it was gonna be painful and I sucked it up. Pero...
Okay. Kasi yung thinking na yon na you knew it was gonna be painful, very psychological. It could add to the pain of the experience. Because you're already expecting na, ay, masakit to. Eh, talagang masasaktan ka. Kaya sabi ko kanina, we want to veer away from that narrative that sex for the first time is always painful. It doesn't have to be. It may not be as mind-blowing as what you watch in the movies, but it can be pleasurable. And how will you do that? Again, like what I said, make sure that you are doing it with someone you feel safe with, you feel safe being vulnerable with. Mahirap din nga yung kapag nasa labas yung nanay at tatay mo, diba? O kaya may mga nakikita kang you're uncomfortable, it becomes awkward. It's better if paghandaan mo talaga, kasi like what you said, diba, you talk about it, doesn't come naman spontaneously. Before you have your first time, also know what you want. kesa yung partner mo yung maghahanap for you. Kasi it's easier for you to feel pleasure if you know what you want and you know how to tell your partner what to do.
So you teach at the Ateneo de Manila University and you also promote safe sex at forums in different college campuses. So I bet a lot of people ask you about first-time sex. What are their anxieties or concerns and what advice do you give them?
Usually yon, masakit ba? Like what I said, we veer away from that. Second is, will they get pregnant? And I tell them, I don't know. I'm not a psychic. Diba? If you protect yourself, your chances of getting pregnant will get lower. And your chances of getting sick too or sexually transmitted infections will go lower. What do they need? Like what I said, condom lube, condom lube, condom lube, condom lube, and make sure that they want to do it. They really, really want to do it. Hindi sila napipilitan. It's not peer pressure, it's not boyfriend or girlfriend pressure. So the experience will be more enjoyable before, during, and even after. No regrets.
Just because you're on the pill doesn't mean you shouldn't use a condom. Still, always use a condom.
Very good. That's it for this episode of Conservative Ako. We've learned about first-time sex, how to prepare for it, how to know if you're emotionally ready, what are the risks, and what to expect, and how to make it more pleasurable. Thank you, Athena, Tanya, and Lee for joining us. Sana may natutunan kayo from this episode.
I learned how to tie a condom.
Congratulations.
I'm glad to know the first time doesn't always have to be painful. So I hope more people learn how to not make it painful for the first time.
Yeah, I agree with her. And I also like how we talked about a lot of things and covered a lot of bases and can get more people to understand that first-time sex shouldn't always be such a big deal and just when you're ready, you do it.
Yay! Thank you very much. And that was the first half of Conservative Ako Season 1. If you liked what you heard, help us make the rest of the season by running ads on our episodes or making a pledge to support our work. You can email PumaPodcast@gmail.com or tell a friend to subscribe to Conservative Ako on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platforms. And let's continue the conversation about female sexuality and pleasure online. Follow me at _Rika Cruz on Twitter and Instagram. And on Facebook, it's Rika Cruz and at The Sexy Mind for articles and bits and pieces about sex. This show was produced by Trisha Aquino and edited by Nina Toralba of Puma Podcast. Conservative Ako is a production of Puma Podcast. We hope you learned about how you can embrace your inner sexy goddesses and practice your sexual agency. Sending love and lust your way, and thank you for keeping an open, sexy mind. This is Rika Cruz. Goodbye.